as well. And we want to hear your questions and comments throughout the episode so that we can get those answered for you. If you're just joining, I am Bree with Apolla with my fabulous co-host and friend, Melissa McDaniel. This is Beyond the Steps. This is the show that we address any kind of topic affecting the dance world, from racism, gender inequity, sex abuse and prevention, nutrition, psychology, dance medicine, science, and more. We tackle one question every week and have one expert with us to talk to you about the facts, the evidence-based research, and answer the questions that are impacting you today. We have our special friend and guest, Jan Dunn, back with us today. Jan, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And today we are talking about, we're getting some reverb. So Jan, turn the volume down on your phone if you can. But today we're going to talk to Jan about the top 5 concerns of dance medicine and dance medicine science educators and professionals. And what are those concerns as far as dancers go specifically? And you can apply a lot of this to performance athletes as well. So Melissa, give a little rundown on Jan's background so people know we are legit here at Beyond the Steps.
Legit. We've got Jan Dunn here with us. I'm gonna quickly say, Jan, your Instagram feed, it's showing the ceiling. It looks like if you'll move the phone up so you can see your face. There
There
you
she is.
go. There you go.
I'm
We want to see your
sorry.
we want to see your beautiful face. So Jan is a dance educator and dance medicine specialist in Savannah, Georgia, with a BS/MS degree in dance science. She's a co-founder and co-chair of Bridge Dance Project, co-director of Denver Dance Medicine Associates, and a dance wellness editor for fordancers.org. Previously, she was a dance faculty and dance wellness coordinator at several universities, including University of Colorado Boulder and Loyola Marymount University, and is currently working with Metro State University in Denver. Are you still, since you've moved, are you still with Metro State?
Well, I was helping them set up a dance medicine clinic program,
Uh-huh.
which is now well underway. So you
Uh-huh.
can probably leave that part of it out.
Well,
Jan is
she's our
everywhere
anchor
though.
mark
Jan
there.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, Jan is kind of everywhere. She does
Yeah.
all the things no matter where
Right.
she's at. So we can leave
she
it
was
in.
involved in the founding of IADM, serving as president, executive director, and on the board of directors from 1990 to 2012. She's the co-chair of the NDA Committee on Dance Medicine and Science, co-chair of International Dance Medicine Conference, Taiwan 2004. Ooh, I've never been to Taiwan. That sounds awesome. And co-founder of the
It's
Journal
hot.
of Dance Medicine and Science. This is, as Bree said, our second installment of our 3-part series with Jan, and we are so very happy to have her here. It sounds like, Bree, as far as our technical stuff, it is just you that has feedback.
Awesome.
So
Stellar.
yeah,
I
it's
don't know
stellar.
why. We're going to keep trying to fix that. So give us a second there. But Jan, while we're doing that, you have a long history in the field of dance medicine and science. I mean, you've had your hands in a lot of different projects, and you've had an impact on the research that's been done over the last 20 years, 20 or 30 years, I should say. Are the things that concern you and alarmed you 10 years ago, are they still concerning now, or what's on your radar today?
Let me go back to the 10-year part, if I may. Um, Things are very different now than they were 10 years ago, and in a positive way in some respects and not so positive in other respects. Um, 10 years ago in the dance medicine and science world, I would say that it was much less known in the professional dance world, ballet companies, modern dance companies, academia in particular, at the university level. It was much less known 10 years ago. Um, and so the progress that's been made in those areas, in the professional ballet world, especially in some modern companies, large ones, in academic areas, that's been huge. That's been a major progress thing over the last 10 years. So the things that concerned us as far as how to reduce injury risk, that hasn't changed because those
Mhm.
types of things are still there. But the knowledge and the awareness of those factors and those risks is much better now, again, especially in that one segment of the dance community than it was 10 years ago. That doesn't necessarily stand for the average dance studio.
Mm.
Um, Sally Jones Dance Studio down the block, the majority of the smaller studios like that just don't have that awareness, that knowledge.
Right.
And so that has not changed. And
Mhm.
that's a big concern and a big problem. And one of the things
Mhm.
that different organizations and you guys are trying to address. So it's a long uphill battle, but it's getting there slowly.
100%.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. We appreciate it. And thank you for being back with us. We're excited to
Oh,
do
thank you.
this quarterly series. I think it gives us a deeper dive into some of these things that, dance medicine and science research is important. And I don't think it's always top of mind, for dance studio owners and educators at this time of year, especially parents and kids as well. So it's really good to have these little reminders and these little nuggets for people to take away and hopefully use it to improve throughout the season. So thank you
Right.
for that. Let's get
Absolutely.
started with segment one, Melissa.
Yes, absolutely. So concerns. First concern I want to bring up is, or I want to hear about, are there professionals in your industry that have concerns about nutrition and how dancers and performance artists are fueling it?
Yes, and again, I'm going to segment the dance community into these
Mm-hmm.
different areas because some of the areas don't have the concerns so much as other areas. So again, you've got at the top, let's make a pyramid if you want. At the
Mm-hmm.
top of the pyramid or the triangle is the professional dance world ballet companies. Again, some modern companies, not all, but many. Broadway shows,
Mm-hmm.
those type of dancers, academic dance. The people up there at those levels, yes, I think their knowledge of the nutritional aspects of dance. I mean, the nutritional needs for dancers and how we can fuel them better for best performance. That knowledge is much better than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those dancers are probably eating a lot better and sleeping a lot better
Mm-hmm.
and taking rest when they need it for better performance. Whoops, sorry. I need one of those little stands that's going to make it stand upright. So I apologize. I'll keep putting it back whenever it tips over
It's
again.
all right.
But I think the vast majority, the estimates that I've seen in recent years is that in this country alone, there are approximately 6 million youngsters taking dance. That's
Six
huge.
million?
Million, yes. Roughly about 6 million young kids, boys and girls, mostly girls as we know, but who are taking dance and in the local studios, the competition studios or not. But those are the ones that don't have access to this kind of knowledge. And I have one of our colleagues whom we all know who is a nutrition person and who works in the competition world has said that when she gives talks on nutrition, very few people come. Even the parents don't come, and even
It's
the
true.
Mm-hmm.
parents sometimes are sitting outside the studio eating donuts.
Yeah, they
um
right.
and
It's
so
true.
that is happening.
Well,
And
it's kind of like if you think about it, all of us have Thanksgiving coming up and holidays, right? And we overindulge at those times. These times of the year are known for overindulgence and
right.
the new year there's a resurgence of I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to, New Year's resolutions, and it's very much like that when you look at dance conventions and competitions. It's a very easy thing to say to yourself, this is such a busy weekend. We're running here and there. I'm gonna shove whatever in my mouth, and and it's the same thought process, the same justification that we give ourselves that for everything, and it makes sense. People do that all the time.
No, I know, but then do they do well the week after the competition?
No, it's hard on their
No.
bodies. And I'm not saying it's right. I just know that that's as human, it's
Yeah.
human nature, and we want to do better. But then when it comes down to putting forth the effort and the extra energy that it requires to do better, it's not always, we don't always meet that. They don't always balance
Yeah.
out, right?
And I think this also gets back, something you just said also gets back to something we've talked about before, especially with the kids, because 10, 11, 12, 13, even 14, 15-year olds, they're not going to think about these things, but they have parents
Right.
Right. And
and they
that's
have
really what
teachers.
it boils
Yeah.
down to is I think,
Yeah.
for the kids that aren't feeling these things yet, they're not experiencing the long term impact of what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
We really need the parents and the educators to step in and go, well, I don't care if you're not feeling this right now. I want you to do this, and this, because the
Yeah.
research shows that this is going to happen to you, and it's just a matter of time. So we're gonna mitigate that risk now,
Yeah.
and it
Exactly.
really is about the parents and the
Mm-hmm.
studio directors stepping into those roles of, I know more than you, and this is what you're going to do for your own good, kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. I know we talked a little bit about the link between nutrition and performance not being talked about enough. And I mean, honestly, Jen, it sounds like, nobody's coming to hear, nobody's coming to hear the speech. We might be talking about it. There may be resources out there, but nobody is really taking hold to them in the competition world. Do you think that the professional world, and this is a total, now I'm going off on a tangent alert,
that's okay.
everybody. Do you think that the professional world having more resources and having a greater awareness of how important nutrition is can impact the competition world? Like, should there be some partnership work between those who are professionals looking at those who are aspiring and going, hey, like, lead by
There,
example?
I'm not going to argue with you. There should be, but the big but.
Mm-hmm.
Money is always a huge factor,
Mm-hmm.
as far as being able to impact anything. And then the other thing is time. I mean, look at the vast majority of professional dancers, teachers, choreographers, everybody else. Again, just in the ballet world, for example,
Mm-hmm.
they're swamped 24/7. And so there, I may be completely wrong on saying this, but I think a vast majority of them are not going to be able to be altruistic enough. I don't
Mm-hmm.
to to say Susie Jones Dance Studio down the street needs some help getting more information about this
Mm-hmm.
because they're just too busy in their own careers and their own lives. I'm going to give one example here in Savannah. I'm new to Savannah. We haven't even been here 2 months, and I don't know the dance community here hardly at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken me 2 months to finally make a connection with two people in the dance community.
Oh, wow.
One of them, luckily, through Mandy Yip and Acrobatic Arts. It's one of her certified studios.
Love Mandy. Yeah.
So that's a great connection. And we're trying to find out when we can get together, but she really wants to. And then the other one is a ballet choreographer, well known, who works with one of the major schools and companies, and been trying to get together with him for quite a while. And I think we're going to finally make it in December, but I did start a couple months ago. And it's just a factor of busy, just
Mm-hmm.
swamped all the time, busy all the time. So for them to, on their own initiative, reach out to the smaller studios, the competition world, I I'm not sure that that's going to happen much. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
more up to those of us in our areas and in dance medicine and science who, or people like Alyssa Arms, the physical therapist that I'd like to share some information with you later that she gave me. It's up to
Mm-hmm.
us to do the reaching out because I
Mm-hmm.
don't think the professional dance community is going to do it that much.
Yeah.
So, Jan, I know I have concerns about the trends that involve overzealous training and unrealistic expectations that are being put on young
Mhm.
dancers, especially, we talk all the time about dancing more hours than their age, and some of them are putting in almost double what is recommended for their age. And it's really getting to be very alarming. So, are dance medicine professionals seeing injury based on
Yeah.
this kind of overzealous method of
Yeah.
training? And is it concerning?
Oh, it's hugely concerning, and I want to say that say something right up front. I'm a dance medicine professional, but I'm an educator. I'm not a medical provider.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you.
I don't see young dancers in my own work in general. I rehab with young dancers or adult dancers who might have an injury and need rehabilitation. That's part of the skills that I do. Um, as
But you
well as
do have you do have your thumb on the pulse of
I
dance, the
have my
dance
thumb on the
medicine.
pulse, and
Yeah.
so yes, I know that the injuries that they're seeing now are extreme compared to the ones that they might have seen 10 or 15, 20 years ago. And you know, when you watch the shows on television, the So You Could Think You Could Dance, the World of Dance, these different competition shows, and in particular, you see the extreme ranges of motion, the
Mm-hmm.
extreme hyper flexibility, way beyond what is normal flexibility for a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
You see the choreography that promotes and uses these extreme range of motion. So if a kid has hypermobility, for example, um, instead of maybe pulling back on some of the choreography that might be
Right.
potentially damaging to that child or young person, it's exploited, and then the injuries happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that the actual medical providers in this field are seeing a lot more injuries, and I think kind of more extreme. I mean, the one again, we've mentioned this before, and you all know it, but the one where Mia Michaels talks about the 16-year-old with a double hip replacement,
Mm-hmm.
Then
and
that's real. Yeah, that is real.
yeah, it's real, and it's not uncommon for them to have these kinds of injuries at that young age. So, uh-oh, phone's tilting again. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, it's a huge issue, and it didn't necessarily exist years ago.
And so would it be fair to say we need to ideally we want to see the quantity of the training come down and the quality go up. So they're
That's a good
not
way to put it, Brie. That's a really good
we're
way to put
not we don't want as many hours in the studio, and maximizing the time that we do have by including cross training and things like that in our um,
it.
and
Exactly.
other injury risk management techniques to
Mm-hmm.
hopefully reduce all around the injuries that we're seeing.
Right.
Um, yeah, thank you. So, for those just joining, I'm Bree with Apolla. This is Melissa McDaniels with me. This is Beyond the Steps. We're talking with Jan Dunn today about the top 5 concerns of dance medicine and science professionals, and how those concerns are impacting the dance world today. Or I guess how the dance world is impacting those concerns is a better way to put it. Um, Jan, the one that's near and dear to our hearts because of the work that we do with Apolla is, you know, the concerns in the industry around injuries that are caused by tools and facilities that are being used. So the concrete floors or dance floors that are not really dance floors, they're,
Mm-hmm.
linoleum or concrete, or, sometimes grass, like if they're dancing outside. There's, unsupportive footwear. That's the
Mhm,
whole reason that we created Apollo socks in the
mhm,
first place, restricting costumes. It goes on and on and on and on.
mhm.
you know what are those things a concern? Can those things cause injury solely, related to the tools and the equipment and the facilities?
Oh, yeah, absolutely they can. And again, separating the dance world into the pyramid triangle idea, at the professional academic level, higher up the scale, um, those environmental hazards, which is what they're called, um, are well known and addressed, I would say, a good deal of the time. But again, at the lower levels, at the local studio levels, the competition levels, they are not at all. And you know this as well as I do. At the competitions, many times they're at hotels with concrete floors
Mm-hmm.
and with just carpet on top of it. So, you've seen the same thing. I've gone
Yeah.
in classes of 50, 60, 80 people in a ballroom with on a concrete floor with nothing but carpet. And yeah, those are major injury risk potential
Mm-hmm.
situations.
Yeah, but I also see, as much as we've talked about how there's an increased awareness of all these things now, but as much as we've talked about it, I will say that I just went to a conference and met a lot of dance teachers that were sitting down trying on Apollo socks that said, but my kids can't. So
Why
it's
would they
like,
say that?
well, and but that's because their feet hurt and their kids don't they can't wear socks in class. So we're still seeing those objections, and we're still meeting with those hurdles. And it is amazing with as much forward progress as we've made in this area. I even forget from a policy standpoint, because we haven't been out meeting people in 3 years because of the pandemic and Shark Tank and all the things. To get back out there and meet people face to face, it takes you back when you hear those things still coming out of people's mouth. And it is a complete nation. And you're like,
Mhm.
whoa, I thought we've done this already. I didn't know we were still here. So
Mhm.
it is stunning to know that there's still a good amount of people out there that don't
I'm
It's
either.
stunning. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think those of us that work in the field, and I'm including you guys with this, is it's we just all have to have that perception and that uh, understanding that it's going to take a very, very long time.
And a
Yeah,
lot of repetition, a lot of
and a
just
lot of repetition.
doing it
Excuse me.
again.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm going to share something with you all that your partner said, Miss Casey,
Love
mm,
Casey.
Casey
Hi,
Pope
Case.
Jones.
You're out there.
When we formed the Bridge Dance Project, and we had our first board meeting, and we had this discussion of it's going to be a long uphill battle. It's not going to be next year or 10 years or 20 years. It's going to be 50, 60, 70 years. Many of us will no longer be around to see what kind of progress we make. But the number one thing to, besides keeping that in mind and not expecting a turnaround in 2 or 3 years, um, is to just keep pushing the idea um, that stronger dancers last longer. They're healthier dancers last longer. They can perform better. They can have a longer career. And in the competition world, that means they can win more
Yeah.
because a healthy dancer will win more. And so it's
You
just,
have to find the language that speaks to
yeah,
whoever you're
exactly.
talking to, and different things matter to different people.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, Casey has infinite amounts of patience, and I have like none. So it's
Absolutely.
always a
You're
good
right.
balance. It's always a good
Casey
balance.
also, what I have learned working with Casey the last several years, and I have so much respect and love for her. She, okay, I've been doing this for years and years, right? Way longer than you
Yeah,
guys and
yeah,
her. But I am by personality. I'm harking back to your comment on the right language for different populations. My personality is much more out there, brash, say what I feel like, blah blah blah. And of course, you can't necessarily do that. And it's been a very long road for me to learn to,
yeah.
Right.
you know, stop it. It's just shut your mouth, Jan. Don't say that, or don't say what you really want to say.
Right, right.
Um, Casey has the ability to um, to just phrase things so appropriately,
Uh
at
huh.
least in my experience.
Uh huh.
So many times we will have a an issue that we have to deal with, that we have to make a response to somebody. And I, in my typical way, will say blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, I'll read it and I'll go, oh God, that's not good. We got to redo that. And if I send it to her, she will come back with a much more approachable type
Yeah.
of thing that we can send out without anybody slapping
It
our
It's
face.
true. It's true.
And
It matters because,
yeah,
again, going back to that conference where you see those dance teachers, there's what I want to say, right?
yeah,
And I'm like, no, no, that can't be said. I have to audit myself and very carefully go
yeah,
at it from okay, we're going to provide this information and that's all we can do in this moment. We can't
yeah,
do
that's
more.
exactly
You can
right.
lead a horse to water, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And you have to know the audience that you're talking to in terms of what they might be able to accept at any given time.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
If
quite a
you're
dance.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna ask about that dance in just a second. I want to remind those people who are just joining us that we are talking to Jan Dunn, an amazingly qualified and experienced dance medicine and science educator, about what are the concerns of dance medicine and science professionals today. What are those things that they're like, hey, listen, everyone, you should be doing or thinking about X, Y, and Z. So if you are watching this episode, please like, please share, please subscribe if you're watching us on our YouTube channels. This information needs to get out. We need to help. Jan just talked about how it could be 50, 60 years before we make any progress here. Let's speed that timeline up. By sharing as much as we possibly can, and tag somebody in the comments that you know who might benefit from this, as well as drop comments, questions in the chat that you might have for Jan. I have a follow up question, Jan, about just you're a dance medicine science educator, so you're constantly out, I'm gonna say beating the streets with the message, "Hey, we need to do better." What do you find? You would think that when you tell somebody, "Hey, the research shows X, Y, and Z, and if you do X, Y, and Z, you will be better, you'll be healthier, you'll be stronger," but it doesn't seem to be taking hold. What is the objection that people have to learning information that is protective to them? What's the big objection?
I have so much to say about this, but I'm going to let Jan
Okay,
talk.
well, I'm going to say one small thing, and then I would love to hear what Bree has to say about it. Um, I think part of it boils down to human nature does not like change.
Mhm.
We just don't. People don't like change. Doesn't matter what field you're in, what age you are, what, economic. We don't like change. We don't like to change the way we do things, because we're comfortable and happy with it, whatever it is. In this case, the dance studio, for example. So I think that's a huge factor. But I really want to hear what Bree has to say.
I have to audit myself. You're putting me on the spot. No, I think it is that. I think it is what you said. That was a much nicer way to say that than what I was going to say. But I think it's inconvenient. It is very inconvenient, and it requires the dance educator. Unfortunately, it falls on the dance educator to do a lot of it. It requires them to go back and change the way they've done things for years. And that is very difficult to do when you're a person who wears many hats and your year never stops. You never get downtime. And when you take downtime, it's for your own sanity, right? Because they're amazing people who care and overextend themselves into so many different areas. And what we're trying to do with this show is say, look, build those relationships in your community so you don't have to wear that hat. Make sure you have the psychologist on speed dial. Make sure you have a nutritionist. Make sure you have a podiatrist or a chiropractor or a massage therapist, whoever it is. You have that on speed dial so that you can, when you have that issue in that moment, you're not having to put on that hat. You can say, I love you, I'm here for you. Call this person, they're great, they're going to be able to help you. And then you can turn into a support person instead of the contact person, right? But I think it's just highly inconvenient for them to just rearrange the scheduling, rearrange the costume, the dress code that they've had in place that's worked for them for years, rearrange their verbiage, retrain their staff. I think it's just inconvenient, and unfortunately that just can't be an excuse.
No, I agree. And I want to share it ties in exactly with what you just talked about. Um, a disheartening story that was just relayed to me a couple days ago by a longtime colleague and friend who is a very well-known dance teacher in Denver, Colorado. She has a huge city-run program with about 500 students. And she had a staff pre-pandemic. She had a staff of 18 teachers, and now I think has around 13. But either way, she has been involved. She's not a dance medicine person. She's an educator, dance teacher, but very concerned about all of this. And she's one of the people who has really tried to do something. And for the last 4 or 5 years, or before that, even because I've worked with her for almost 25 years, she's brought people like me and others in to do workshops for her dancers, for her teachers, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so last year we did a series of workshops, teacher training workshops for her staff, which almost all of her staff came to. And we had some of the physical therapists there. We had nutritionists. So it was just what you're talking about, Brie, a whole team of
Yep.
speed dial people that you could reach out to. Okay, we did these teacher trainings, fine. She recently had to leave because of a family emergency for 3 weeks. And she turned some of her classes over to some of these teachers who had gone through all of these trainings. And she came back and was horrified to see that practically every single dancer in her company had a bad injury that they had not had
Wow.
before she left. And all of these teachers had had this training, and yet they didn't implement it,
Mm.
obviously. And I think it boils down to what you just said, Bree. It was inconvenient, and it would have meant changing some of the things that they needed to be doing. So it's very disheartening, and it's just another example of the uphill battle that we all have.
Yeah, but I think that, for anybody out there, you can do it. And you don't, I think it was one show last season, Melissa, we kind of touched on this. And you don't have to do it all at one time. You don't have to make every change
Yeah.
at one time. But as you're planning a lot of directors will have their competition meeting in May or June, or, have that, time before the new season to prepare and plan. That's a good time to go, okay, I can change some things up now. That's what I would always use that time of year to make those changes, in between summer and fall, or in between spring,
Yeah.
spring and summer.
Yeah.
I just think there's a way to do it if you really, I always like to say, like, as a person, you will make time for the things that are important to you. You will find a way to make time for the things that are important to you. And this has to be one of those things. If you're a dance educator, a parent, a student, if you're working with these young artists and athletes, you have to make this a priority.
Hmm. Yes,
So
absolutely.
I'll leave it at that.
You really should, and I know that, and we're gonna say it again. There's no governing body for dance, so there's
Nope.
nobody standing over your shoulder to make sure you do it. But we have to intrinsically find that motivation
There's a lot
to
of people
want to
doing a
do
lot of
it.
great work,
Yeah.
YPAD,
Yeah.
Niyama now, Bridge Dance Project. There's tons of great people doing the work, and I still encourage you to check those people out, and they can help you on that journey. But the person who has to ultimately make the change
Right.
and set the standard is the studio directors and the
Mm-hmm.
educators.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, Jan, you had mentioned to us that you had received some communication from one of your colleagues about
Yep.
some concerns that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I would love to share this because Alyssa Arms is a dance medicine physical therapist in Denver, Colorado. She has been active in dance medicine for a long time, and she has a physical therapy studio called Back in Step. And she's worked with IADAMS and different organizations, and she's a terrific physical therapist, dance medicine. And she took over the Bridge Dance Project Denver leadership when I left. So she's doing that in addition to all her other jobs now. She wrote me, and I just want to share her thoughts as far as what kinds of concerns are there for dance medicine professionals like herself, especially in the medical world. I'm
Hmm.
going to read this to you. I don't want to try to paraphrase it.
Okay,
So if you don't mind, she says, I have
sure.
two major thoughts. Training approach. Regardless of the dance genre, we are asking more and more of our bodies
Mm.
as dancers with extreme flexibility, big trips, more tricks, aerials, but not much is changing when it comes to how the training is addressed. In
Hmm.
order to accomplish these higher expectations more comfortably and safely, dancers would benefit from proper strength training, cardio conditioning, and more. Too often, however, when my dancers tell me that they have strength and conditioning class or a stretch and strengthen class, they
Hmm.
describe it as foot exercises with a TheraBand. They work on splits and then mostly more of turns and leaps.
Hmm.
So, not really what in the dance medicine world we would call a real conditioning class or a real stretch and flexibility.
Or to add to that, it gets used as a rehearsal
Rehearsal
time.
time.
As the closer
Exactly.
you
It
get to
becomes a rehearsal
competition.
time. Yes.
Exactly.
Guilty. I've done it. I think
Oh,
everybody
I
can
totally
admit to
get
that.
it.
I've done it for sure, but that is very common.
Yeah,
Continue.
and then she goes on to say there needs to be more accurate information, education about things that we've talked about here: nutrition, rest and recovery, proper use of warm up and cool down, safe stretching, etc. And then she goes on to her second point, which is unfortunately, most of the dance community isn't aware that there are people like us, dance
Mm.
medicine specialists and dance educators who are specialists in this field. We exist and we cover a wide range of topics, and we would all love to help anybody in the dance community to feel safe and as healthy as possible. We just need to be better utilized. We also can help teachers, studio owners, convention owners figure out how to incorporate these concepts into what they're doing, meaning that we don't have to have expectations that dancers can do 2 extra hours a day to accomplish everything we're suggesting. We're ultimately giving back to the dancers because by then they can be more resilient, reduce risk of burnout, recover from injury, or maybe even avoid an injury in the first place. So her points, I think, are great in that there's not enough of the dance community itself that knows that people like Alyssa exist, people like myself exist, people like you all exist who can help with this. So that gets to just all of the sharing and spreading. My phrase is spread the word. Um, get all of this information out there, and and realize, again, even though it can be discouraging how slowly it goes, to just keep at it.
And
So
again,
I
I would,
wanted to share that.
yeah, thank you. And thank you, Alyssa Arms, for
Yeah.
sharing your thoughts with all of us on that. We appreciate it. It's always nice to hear from highly esteemed dance medicine and science professionals. We're so fortunate to have you all. So thank you. But I think it's also making sure we've never been more connected than we are now as a society. Everybody's got their phone everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Social media, it really is becomes an excuse of why we are not doing more to understand this more quickly. And so making sure, when you're sitting on your phone in the middle of an auditorium for 8 hours of dances on repeat, like pull it out and do some
Right.
research. It really, like, instead of mindlessly scrolling TikTok. And it takes discipline, it takes commitment, it takes making it a priority. But again, we're going to challenge you to do that. I'm giving our homework early. So that's my assignment for everybody today. Take 5 minutes and read something that productive about dance medicine and science research. And I think that you'd be surprised at what you find and how easy it would be for you to implement it, in your day to day. So with that, I think that's a great segue to get to homework. Jan, as you know by now, you've joined us enough times to know that we give homework to our listeners and our watchers, people that are watching, for them to practice between now and next week's episode. So what do you want to assign everybody for this week? What is your homework challenge?
I have a couple, and I was looking, Bree, that list that I sent you yesterday. I think it's in my head. I thought I printed it
Yeah.
out, but I didn't. So if I miss something, please tell me. First of all,
Okay.
as Bree said, there are so many resources that everybody watching this can look up. I'm going to mention a few of them here, and Bree, if I'm missing something, tell me. So IADAMS, the Dance Medicine Organization, International Association for Dance Medicine and Science, long phrase, which is why we say IADAMS. If you go to their website and just click on resources, and then click on, some of the resources are members only, but others are open to anybody. And there is a page that is on, oh God, I just blew what the actual thing is. Publications, it's on the publications page. And there are the resource papers. The resource papers are on many different topics in this general field of dance medicine and science. They are specifically written for teachers. I will make one qualifier here, meaning that some of the language sometimes in some of the papers might seem a little more medical than you might be used to.
That's my pet peeve.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
believe me, I am not disagreeing
Jan
with
knows
you.
this. I always tell her that.
Yeah, and I've kind of been saying that for a long time too.
Yeah.
So if you can work through some of the medical language and deal with that, the papers are a good resource. Another excellent resource that I would like to pass on is Healthy Dancer Canada. Healthy Dancer Canada is an organization, obviously in Canada, that works for promoting all the different things that we're talking about. And again, on their website, they have resources called open access, which again means that you don't have to be a member. And there's some great papers on there. I was cruising some of them this morning. And the one that I happened to look at, which was on core control, core strength, was excellent. And it was not couched in any kind of medical language. It was couched in more everyday language that the average dance teacher or older student could understand. So those are great resources. What are some of the others that I mentioned? Uh,
The bridge, we got
well,
Sugarfoot
Bridge, of course,
Therapy.
Bridge Dance Project. We have a resource page that has a number of things on it. The Apollo website has
It does.
resources and
Pretty good
blogs.
website.
It's a
It
Yeah,
is
pretty
pretty
good
good
I,
website.
website.
it
You
does
may
say
not
that
have
itself.
heard of it, but it's a pretty good website. Um, what was another one? Did I miss any, Bree?
No, we have Dance Medica, of course. We have Doctors for Dancers.
I
We
was just going to mention Doctors for Dancers because they have some great blogs on there that are free to anybody, and those are great resources. So the homework, did I miss any specific organizations that emailed you yesterday on? Those are the main ones
No, I
that
think
no,
I
those,
no,
yeah,
can
you
those
remember.
touched
were, you
on them
mentioned
all.
all the ones
Okay.
that were there.
Okay.
So
Well,
your homework from Jan is
I have
check out
more.
those
I have
organizations.
more.
Okay, okay,
Oh,
there's more. There's more.
I have more. So yeah, your homework from me is, yeah, go check out some of those resources that we just talked about. Most of those articles are going to take maybe 10 minutes at the most to
mhm.
read.
And they're
But
free. They're free.
and they're free. They're free. But beyond that, your homework is to get five
Mhm.
people in your network, your dance community network, whether they are dancers, students, choreographers, uh, teachers, studio. To get five people in your network and ask them to read it too,
Ah,
to share it and spread the word. So if there's 100 people out there, I have no idea how many people are watching, but let's say, just for the sake of it, there's 100 people watching, and if all of them take our homework and do that and go read one article for only 10 minutes, and then they take their five best buddies from whatever category of the dance community they're in and say, hey, just go read this, please go read this, I'll buy you a
cup
cinnamon
of
roll to
coffee.
celebrate or something. um,
Cinnamon roll. A
well,
cinnamon roll.
my husband and I were talking about cinnamon rolls this morning. That's why it popped into my
Sounds
head.
delicious.
Right.
Well, whatever. I'll buy you whatever yummy you want. If it just go take 10 minutes to read this, that's 500 people that
Yeah.
have then gotten the word. So it's not that hard to spread and share the
Yeah.
word. So if people do that, it will spread a little bit faster than this slow crawl uphill that we're doing right now.
Mhm.
And post about it, share it on your story, share it on your social media. That counts too. Like,
Yeah,
you're spreading the word by doing that. And if you'd be surprised at how quick that takes on.
exactly.
We also like to give you homework. I kind of already inserted one, but my other is make sure you're taking our Steps Initiative course. It's a online course series that you can take at your own pace, completely free. It's going to tackle topics and give you evidence-based research on everything from racism, gender equity, sex abuse and prevention, nutrition, psychology, and of course, dance medicine and science. It is a great jumping off point for you to start learning and give you a foundation where you can go and kind of dig deeper on your own. It gives you a great starting point. So please check that out. I'm going to put the link in the chat here on Facebook, and we'll link it after in all of our platforms as well. But again, you can take that completely free. And Jan, tell us again how everybody can get in touch with you.
You can get in touch with me on my email, which is JD, like my name, Jan Dunn, JD, and then the word Dan Med, like dance medicine. So JDDANMED at AOL.com.
Perfect.
JD Dan Med, two D's.
And you do consult with studios, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to help provide some guidance on
Yeah.
how they can implement some of these things.
Yeah, and I've helped set up dance medicine clinics, like we just did for Metro State, using local dance medicine physical therapists who are now coming in and doing clinics once a month or something like that. They did that. So I've had a lot of experience in that kind of thing, teaching workshops, lots of good stuff. Can do a lot of it. The only thing I guess I don't do is treat dancers medically.
Thank you, Jan.
Yes,
So
thank you
amazing.
so much. Thank you, everyone who is watching. I know there was a little bit of an echo, throughout, but thank you so much for hanging in there. Thank you for letting us know. We are just so happy to have you, Jan, again
Thank
for
you.
the second part of this series. We have a third part of this series coming up, so please be on the lookout for our announcements with that. Thank you so much, Bree, for being on this journey with me. 2 years long now in our third season, so we're hitting our stride, and I'm really honored and blessed to have you as my co-host. So thank you so much. I want to Apollo. What does Apollo have going on, Bree?
Can't hear you.
My mic was muted.
There.
We are back in stock, people. First time since
What?
Shark Tank in April. We are back in stock. I don't know for how long because the holidays are here and people are buying them up just as quickly as we're getting them back in. But the good news is the wait times are cut way down. We're running some really great promos for the holidays, so you definitely want to subscribe to email and text messages to get those, and make sure you're subscribed to our email list, so you get all the promos delivered right to you. And yeah, it's an incredible way to stay up on all things Apollo. We have some new products in the works now that we have our machines back. So you'll get some surprises in 2023. I can't say what they are yet, but we're really excited to be back in action and fully back in stock. So thank you all for supporting and for your patience through the whole Shark Tank madness. It has been unbelievable and life changing. We're incredibly grateful, and now we're ready to work again. So
One
Wonderful.
more
yes,
piece of homework.
yes,
One more
Jan.
piece of homework. Buy one Apollo product for somebody you love in the dance world for
They do
Christmas.
make great stocking stuffers. I'm not even
Yeah,
gonna. They're
exactly.
really
Go for
great.
it. Go for it.
Teacher gifts, like I have one of my kids' teachers is a CrossFit. She does CrossFit. I'm like, I know what I'm getting her. I'm getting her
Yeah,
a wallet
and she'll
for
love it.
sure.
Did
She'll
you
be
She'll
just
love
happy.
it.
blow her present?
Yeah, I don't think she's teaching my
Right.
kid right now, so she's
Oh,
gonna
Yeah,
be
she
okay.
should
watching.
she shouldn't be
We'll
watching
see.
the show and
Okay.
awesome. That's wonderful. So Apollo's back in stock. Please place your orders. On our end over here at Turning Point, I am so honored to have been nominated for a Broadway World Charlotte Regional Award for my work
Woo!
in Tony's Son, which
Wow.
was a play that I did some choreography for back in, I don't know, seems like eons ago. But there is voting for that. So if you look on Turning Point's page, you have to vote.
Wait, you have to
Congratulations.
put a link. We need
The
a link to this.
it's in the notes,
Oh,
the show notes.
okay. Gotta get it. I'm gonna pull it right now. I'm linking it.
Um,
There it is.
but yeah, there's a link for that. So go vote. You do have to vote through the whole entire ballot, but if you don't know anyone, they do have an option for you to say no nominee. But I would be so happy to have people vote there.
So
I'm the
they vote
company.
Turning Point Dance Creation.
They'll vote Melissa McDaniel Grisham. Yeah, they'll vote for
Okay.
me as choreographer. Um, so I am in some good company. There's a production. There's musicals in there. I'm like, oh,
Wow.
what a
That's
what a
great.
great what a great category to be in. But so super honored and thank you for the nomination. Next week we will have Kristen and Michelle with us from Dancing, talking
Awesome.
about helping dancers cope with stress. This is the perfect time of year to do it because they're gonna have, hopefully, per our You Need Rest and Recovery shows that we have done, have a little bit of rest time to focus on coping with stress over the next few weeks. Hint, hint. Let's not dance over the full break, people. Let's not do it. Let's give everybody a little bit of break. So please tune in next Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as we talk to Michelle and Kristen from Dancing about helping dancers cope with stress. In the meantime, share this episode. You can find the full recordings at Apollo Performance at TP Dance Creations on all of our platforms. And then you can also get episodes emailed to you using the link that Bria is going to drop in the chat. And if you have a topic idea, send it to us, DM us, private message us. Let us know what those topic ideas are. We would love to explore those for this season. Until next time, do your homework.
Yeah.
Then you do your homework, your other homework, which is to make 5 other people do their homework. And then your other homework to get one of the Apollo products for someone that you love and care about. But until then, continue your journey beyond the steps. We will see you next Friday.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.